So much. All right, we've been here 5 minutes, and this is the best HELLFEST we've ever played, so give yourselves a hand.
What's up, everyone? Late night edit. It's about 9 p.m. here in Philly. About to work on a set from HELLFEST 2004. This is Remembering Never. They're playing Mosh for Pause, I think, in 2 weeks in New Jersey. I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be in California for the New Age Fest. But I'd like to get this set edited and out there. Hopefully you can hear me. If not, someone leave a comment. Seems like there's only like 5 people watching. And again, that's because I'm doing a late night edit. I don't really expect too many people to be tuning in. So just a little bit of background. 1 second. In New Jersey. I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be in California. So yeah, just a little bit of background. I got all of the HELLFEST 2004 and 2001 tapes a couple years ago. There's about 500 tapes. I'm slowly in the process of converting the tapes and then syncing all the angles together, then editing them. So what I've already done so far is I've already pulled out the tapes that have the 5, 6 different angles of Remembering Never. I've converted those tapes, and right now what I'm doing is I'm going to be syncing them just so that everything lines up, and then I'm going to just start cutting them together to produce a multicam edit. So I'll just go through exactly what we have to work with. So this top layer here was the front of house camera. They had it basically on a tripod looking straight on at the stage. It moved around a little bit, basically panning. Whoever was working it was sort of just moving it back and forth. Below that, we have stage right. There's actually 2 different files here for stage right. I'm assuming the camera cut out and then came back on. Below that, we have, let's see, stage left. Below that, we have, what is this? Oh, this is the crowd camera. So there was someone in the crowd getting sort of just like shots from the pit. Below that, we have the overhead jib. So the overhead jib is like a big, think of it like a big crane or big seesaw that has a camera on the one end, and it basically gets a lot of overhead shots of the crowd. So it's a pretty cool shot that I like to work with. you'll see it when we cut to the this front of house camera. You'll see the jib arm sometimes dip into the frame, so you'll see exactly what it is instead of me trying to describe it. And then below that we have the drum cam. Unfortunately, there is no soundboard feed for any of the HELLFEST 2004 stuff. That stuff was lost years ago. So what I have to work with is basically I have to figure out which of these angles has the best sounding audio, and I'm gonna just work with that. So sort of your expectations for what the set is gonna look like or sound like should be measured. Again, because we don't have soundboard, and we're basically working with cameras from the early 2000s that were not meant to be recording live sound like this. So there is one issue. For some reason, this drum, I think it's the drum cam? No. I think one of the angles doesn't have sound. There's no audio. I think it might be this one. Oh, no, that is definitely audio. I think there is one of these that doesn't have audio, so that's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass to sync. So I'm going to be using a plugin called Pluralize. Pluralize will basically attempt to take any number of clips, audio and video clips, and it'll attempt to sync them for you, so you don't have to sit here and do it by hand. But occasionally with the HELLFEST stuff, there are clips that just can't be synced for various reasons, various technical reasons. They can't be synced with the rest. So that has to be done manually, and that's a fucking pain in the ass. So what I'm going to do first is just try using Pluralize to see how well it can do. And then if it does a shit job, then I'll go through and manually try to correct it. So let's just do that now. Here you'll see the plugin. Pluralize, I think it costs like $200 or something like that. I use it a lot because I typically am working with multiple audio sources, so it's very helpful to have a plugin that will automatically sync things for you. But again, it's not always accurate, but at least gets you in the approximate ballpark of where you need to be. So we're gonna let this run. It's gonna take, it might take a couple minutes, so we got time to kill. What's up, Saint Saturn? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the kind words. Looks like we got 10 people on right now. Again, I'm tuning in. It's like 9 p.m. where I'm at. Figured I haven't worked on one of these HELLFEST sets in a couple weeks, and I thought it'd be good to work on one right now. And again, this is Remembering Never. They're playing a show. They're playing the Mosh for Pause Fest, I think, on August 24th or 25th. I can pull up the flyer. That's in New Jersey somewhere. Here we go. Hopefully you'll see this. Yeah, so Mosh for Pause 2018, August 25th at Debonair Music Hall in Teaneck, New Jersey. Fit for an Autopsy, Remembering Never, On Broken Wings, Years Spent Cold, Die Young, Knuckle Up, Phantom Pain. I thought there were more bands playing, but I guess that's it. I believe tickets are still available, so there you go. If you're in the area and you like these bands, you should go out and see it. I'm going to be in California for the New Age Records Fest that weekend, unfortunately, so otherwise I would be there. Interestingly enough, I was in Tennessee and Alabama back in June. Yeah, back in June for a couple shows, and I filmed this band Ether twice that weekend, and I didn't realize it until like the second day or late into the first day that Peter, who's in Ether, is actually was the singer of Remembering Never. So that was cool. I grew up. I mean, I listened to a lot of metalcore in high school. I didn't own any Remembering Never CDs or records or anything like that, but there were a couple songs that I really liked. So it was funny just to sort of get a chance to talk to him about life and stuff like that. So Pluralize is almost 60% done. So what it's doing, it's basically, so all except for this second track here, which I've highlighted, everything is a continuous shot. So each camera operator pressed record, and they just let it run the entire time, and they never hit stop or anything like that, again, except for this little break here. So what Pluralize is trying to do, it's trying to figure out, okay, all of these clips line up at this point, and so it's basically trying to find the right sync point. If you don't have pluralize, one thing that you can do is basically the trick that I do is listen for like either the drummer counting off on the sticks or hitting a like hi-hat. Those are very distinct sounds that you can pretty much at least somewhat reasonably isolate. So for each angle, if I'm not using pluralize, I'll look for one of those cues in each of the angles and basically readjust the position of each clip just to line it up. Cool, so it looks like pluralize did some of it. It did fuck up this one. So you can see here, it moved this entire clip all the way to the end. So I believe that means it just could not find a way to sync it. So let's just, I'm gonna mute my mic and I'm gonna play just the different audio sources, because what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna double check that everything's in sync. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna be toggling between the different audio sources. So you'll hear, again, how shitty everything sounds and sort of what we have to work with. So let's just get to it. All right, so basically pluralize did not sync any of this, which is what I sort of expected. If you were listening to that last clip, it was really jittery and skipping around. And I think that's just because the tape is, something's wrong with the tape. So I think I tried capturing this one twice. Basically, you literally have to pop in the tape. I mean, this isn't the tape, but sort of like you take the tape, pop it in, you play it, and then you have you have a computer basically just recording what is being played. So I captured that one twice, and both times the audio and video was just like very skippy and jittery, which is what you're hearing here. So I think that's why pluralize can't sync it. That's going to be an issue if it starts skipping and it's not continuous, then we might not be able to use that angle at all. And there's going to be a sort of a limit in terms of how much time I want to spend trying to make a certain angle work, because I'm just going to be pulling my fucking hair out if I try to make this, try to fix this problem. So let's just try doing, we're going to just try doing this by hand. This is going to be very tedious, but I think it's instructive to sort of just go through this. So, fuck, yeah.
our fourth fucking year. Let's make it memorable.
All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm basically trying to pinpoint the exact point where the drummer is hitting the cymbals. So if you listen closely, I sort of waited for the vocal. I basically waited for Pete to go into the first song, and then I'm waiting for the drummer to count off. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find that exact point in each of the angles, and then once I find them, I can slide everything over, and then we'll see how well it stays in sync. Because I sort of suspect it's going to come in and out of sync, but let's just try it. So again, I'm going to try to find that point where that drummer begins the count off.
Let's make it memorable.
So it's right about here. You can hear, like, if you listen closely, you'll hear the pitch change, and that's the point where the cymbal is hit. So it's right here. So that's it for this angle. Let's move on to the one below it is super blown out, so I don't know how well we're gonna be able to. Oh, it's the jib. We might skip this one and come back to it, but let's just try it.
We're remembering never before Lauderdale, fucking Florida.
All right, so even though the audio is blown out on this overhead jib cam, we can actually see the drummer. So we can actually, so this is something that happens sometimes where if I can't really hear what's going on, I try to look for a visual cue. So what's happening here, I'll blow this up a little bit. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Let's go back. Cool, so right here, I'll try zooming in again. Let's make it 400%. So I can actually see where he's hitting it. So I'm going to use a visual, just try to see. It's like right there, we'll say. We might have to do like a fine, well, I just want to get in the ballpark and then we'll fine tune it, but so what we'll do is we will cut this, and then I'm going to drag this over to line up with this other cut point here. So the track below is the first cut point that we made. And so what I'm going to do now is basically going to take what I just chopped and slide it over. And now these two should be synced. So one way to check it is we can keep the overhead jib shot enabled, and then only enable the first audio track. So that's a way of cross-checking to see if everything's in sync. So let's just do that, just as a sort of sanity check. So we'll mute this, and we'll turn this one back on.
We're remembering never before Lauderdale, fucking Florida.
So that looks good. So again, I'm using this angle. Obviously, we're watching this angle, but we're listening to the audio from, we're listening to the drum cam audio. So the fact that it's still synced up, I feel confident that this is fine. Later on, it might go out of sync, but we'll sort of address that later. A couple messages from people. Niall Geist is asking what Adobe product I'm using. I'm currently using Adobe Creative Cloud 2018. Which version is it? I think I'm using build version 12.1.1 build 10. So again, Adobe Premiere Creative Cloud 2018 is what I'm using. Grandma was asking if that's a soccer field. Yes. So HELLFEST 2004 was held in something called Rexplex, which was like an indoor sports arena. They had like multiple soccer courts. I think they had like a basketball court, like all kinds of weird shit. So there was a big, basically big indoor sports facility where they had this fest. It's no longer around. If you're driving down 95 or up 95, like in North Jersey, you'll see the building. I think it's like a mall now. I don't know. Maybe someone can correct me. I've actually never been, but it's a really ugly building. You'll see it, and you'll wonder what the fuck is that place. But yeah, that's I think where Rexplex was. Cool. So let's move on to the next angle. So what do we got? So this one was okay. This is the crowd cam. So again, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna try to find the point where the drummer's counting off right before they go into the first song. So let's just do that here. We'll unmute the audio, mute the other track, and then just play for a little bit and try to find that point.
Fort Lauderdale, fucking Florida.
All right, that one was pretty easy. So again, we have the all right, we have a couple more people tuned in. Oh shit, Benny B-Roll is tuned in. What's up? What's up, B-roll? Good to see you in here. Yeah, 5-year waitlist. Yes, this is Adobe Premiere Pro Creative CC 2018, basically. Tom Martinez is asking how many angles I'm working with. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think. Just to go through them real quick, we have drum cam. We have a jib over the crowd. We have this crowd cam. We have a stage left, stage right, and we have a front of house camera on a tripod. B-roll, did you shoot some of this? I think you did, right? I don't know if you were shooting this set, and if so, which angle you were running. It'd be cool to hear your perspective, because I know you were there, and I know you were shooting a bunch of shit back then. So again, what I'm doing right now, for those who are just tuning in, I'm trying to manually sync these different angles together. And it's not an easy task because the audio is blown out, and some of the tracks are really skippy and jittery, so things are coming in and out of sync. So I'm just trying to figure out which clips I can sync and sort of figure out what can't be synced and cross that bridge when I get there. So I've done these first 3. I've done these 3 so far, and then we're gonna go to stage left, so which is this.
We're remembering number for Fort Lauderdale, fucking Florida. We're remembering number for Make It Memorable.
All right, that one wasn't too bad. You can see how off Pluralize was. So again, if you're just tuning in, I was trying to use Pluralize, which is a plugin that will automatically sync everything for you, but it moved things over, and I thought it was good, and what I'm doing now is I'm reviewing everything, and it wasn't right. So you can basically see how far I've had to move everything over, and that's basically how inaccurate Pluralize was. Usually Pluralize is very good, but again, in sort of extreme cases like this where the audio is super blown out, it's gonna shit the bed, and you're not gonna get too far, and you're gonna have to basically do it manually, which is what I'm doing now. I'm gonna skip this angle. I'm gonna skip stage right because I think stage right is super problematic. So we're gonna just go straight to the front of house cam, and we'll come back to stage right. Again, I might not even use stage right because it's so fucking distorted and not borderline just unusable. So
We're remembering number for Fort Lauderdale, fucking Florida.
All right, so if you're hearing those glitches, it's not your internet connection. It's not the stream. Again, that is just what I'm trying to work with. And a lot of the HELLFEST stuff is like this. So this is why it's been taking so long, and it's why it's going to continue taking so long, is because I have to sit here and try to figure out the best way to handle this. Again, like, this is just, this angle is not even, I might not even get to use it. But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see if I can find a point where I can sync it. But again, I feel like the time codes are off, so it's gonna be in sync for maybe like 10-15 seconds, then something will drop off, you know, the frame will cut out, and then it will not be in sync after that. So I have a feeling that this angle is gonna just cause way more headaches than it's actually worth. But let's just try it. All right, so you can barely hear where the symbol count off is happening, but I think you can see it. So let's just zoom in and try to figure this one out. What's up, Steven? Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, so super chat is a way for you to donate money to hate5six. And your message will pop up to the top. So thank you, Steven,
son.
Thank you for that donation and your continued support. Steven's been a longtime viewer and has been helping with the growth of hate5six for years now. So thank you. I really do appreciate it. So what I'm trying to do here is we can see where he's hitting it, like right. Like, if you see my mouse, that I think is the drumstick, and I think right there is where he's hitting. So let's just say that's the cut point. God, it's such a fucking mess. But let's try it. Let's move it over. Again, I don't think it's going to stay in sync with everything else, but we shall see. All right, so everything looks like it's so basically I fast forwarded towards the end of the set. Again, we're gonna disregard stage right, but what I did was I'm basically gonna be working with it sounds like the front of house audio is the cleanest signal. If you were listening closely, I was toggling between everything. This one seems to be the least blown out and offers the most room for us to work with, at least with respect to doing like EQ and compression. So probably going to stick with this. If you were watching, what I was doing was I was playing the front of house audio and then toggling between all the other angles to make sure that they were all in sync with that reference audio track. So the idea being, what we just did for the last, however, 10, 15 minutes was we synced everything at the beginning. And what I just did was just to, as a sanity check, to make sure that by the end of the set, everything is still in sync. There were no weird dropouts, nothing strange happened, and it looks like everything's fine. Again, I think we're gonna just skip working with this stage right, because it's just a complete mess. But I'll try it one more time. I'll see if I can find a better sync point. I feel like the answer is no, but I don't want to give up just yet. So let's just try it. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna instead of syncing with the symbols, I'm gonna try syncing to when Pete says "We're remembering never." So I think I found where he's about to say it, which is right here. You can see this sort of waveform. Here is roughly where I think he says we're remembering never.
Are you guys excited to be?
All right, so it looks like that may have worked. It's more or less in the ballpark. So again, because this audio, so stage right, if you're just tuning in, stage right audio is super blown out, or it's not even blown out. It's cutting in and out, so I can't even hear most of the audio. So what I did was I was trying to find a marker point. So basically I found a point where it was clear what was happening, and the point was where Pete says, "We're remembering never." So what I did was I isolated that point, and then I found that same point in a different angle, then aligned the track to that point. So what I'm doing now is I'm playing this, I'm playing stage right, which has the blown out audio, and I'm playing it along to the front of house audio. And again, as I did before, just trying to ensure that it's still in sync as we move forward along in the set. So where I fast forwarded to the almost 12-minute mark, and everything looks like it's still in sync. Right about here, the clip does cut out. So I think either the camera died or something happened. So that's where the next there is a second file for this angle. So we're gonna probably have to do we'll have to repeat this process again, which we'll do right now. So you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's just delete that, and then go down here. This is the second track. So I doubt it's gonna be like I don't know where this begins, and it's gonna be hard to figure it out. But let's just try it. Let's just try seeing if we can do it. Yeah, so this is bad. I feel like I'm gonna lose a bunch of people watching this because all you're hearing is this shit. But again, the reason I'm doing these live streams is to show you exactly what I'm working with. And so if you really want to know what it's like to run hate5six and why it takes so long to do these things, I'm giving you every sort of detail that I have to sort of work with. So yeah, this is part of it. So I'm sorry, but if you're hoping to hear some really clean audio, you're not going to find it right now, because right now we're basically trying to go through this and figure out how to sync this angle. Basically sync an angle that literally, for all intents and purposes, has no audio track. So yeah, I hope you bear with me, because once we get this synced up, I'm going to go through and cut the set, and we'll use one of the we'll use the front of house audio, which is much cleaner signal, to actually do the edit. So if you're hoping to tune in and watch it and have it be enjoyable, stick around for that, or just or tune out and tune back in like 10-15 minutes. Maybe I'll have this fixed. But I'm gonna keep going. But just to warn you, it's just gonna be a bunch of fucking shit sounds and nothing that's gonna sound pleasant to anyone's ears. So what I'm gonna try doing, and this is gonna be tough, I'm gonna try doing a visual sync. So I'm not even gonna bother with the audio track for this angle anymore. It's just as you were listening, like if you were listening, it's just not usable at this point. So let's just try to find a point that we can sync up visually. So here we've got someone on stage. Obviously this is Pete. I think that's Pete right there. We got a kid here wearing a backpack, and he's sort of throwing his fist. So right here, his arm is fully extended out. So what I'm gonna try doing, I'm gonna try finding this exact point in another angle, and then we're just gonna line it up that way. There's no guarantee that we'll have it, but let's just, can't hurt to try. So here is the guy. So this is the front of house camera. Let's just see if this works. So we got this guy coming up in frame. I'll make it bigger so you can see it. So this guy's coming up in frame. This guy's cocking his arm back, and then right here it goes straight. And that looks like Rich Hall. Rich, I know you just liked my Facebook post about this, so I don't know if you're tuned in, but yeah, I think that's you. Anyway, so this is the point where I think it visually syncs up. So let's move this back over. And let's zoom back into this timeline. So right here, let's just see if we can find another point. So here, the dude's finger is like pointed straight up, and hopefully if we did it right, we should see it here, and we don't see it there. All right, so we're still off. We're still off. But I think we're getting close though. Oh, okay. So I synced it to the wrong point. So it looks like this guy comes up twice. So if we go here, his arm is like angled that way. So let's make this the cut point. And then let's just try to find that exact point in the front of house shot. So here he's coming up. He's running up, running up, running up. And right here is when his arm gets the same angle. So you can see it right here. So if we slide this over just a little bit, now these should both be lined up. So if we go back, just fast forward a little bit. Let's see if we can find another point that lines up. So here, this guy's arm is pointed sort of 90 degrees. So if we toggle the other camera, we can kind of see it here as well. So here, his arm's lined up, pointed straight up, and below that, whoops, below we have the same thing. So what should hopefully happen is if I pull this track all the way back and I go back towards this point, then hopefully this will still be in sync. Again, when I say in sync, I mean visually in sync, because again, we're dealing with an angle that has effectively no audio track. This looks like it's still good. So here we have this arm coming out in frame next to this bald head. We have it here. Arm extended out, bald head right there. So this looks like it's fine. So there you go. That's how you do it. Or that's how I do it, at least. I don't know if there's a better way of syncing an audio source when there's really no audio. But thankfully with like with a big show like this where there's multiple angles, we can find points where we can see try to find visual cues that line up, and we can use that as a way to do the sync. So just as a sanity check, I'm gonna mute, well, I'll play the audio from the front of house camera, and we'll play it along with the stage right camera, and hopefully everything will be more or less in sync. All right, so I'm more or less happy with how everything's synced. So we can finally begin working on the multicam cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this synced sequence and I'm going to nest it within a new sequence. Gosh, there's so many fucking files in here. Like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable. First, you have to have all the video tracks enabled in the original sequence, and then within this new sequence, you can right-click and go to multi-camera and enable, and that'll bring up this guy. So now we have all 5 camera or all 6 camera angles synced up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play it, and we're going to sit here and we're going to click and cut between everything, and hopefully do it in a way that is fun or do it in a way that's tells an interesting story. I don't want to cut between too many angles too quickly, and I want every cut to sort of capture something different. So this is where the creative part comes in with doing these edits. So what I'm going to do is so I'm going to, all right, should be ready to go. So no, we're still not getting any audio. Why is that the case? Let's see. This happened last time I did a multicam cut. The audio wasn't playing for some reason. So, all right, we're just gonna do a little weird hack. I'm gonna just copy this audio, so copy the reference track. I'm gonna go back to the embedded sequence. I'm just gonna, whoop, not that. I'm gonna paste it. Now we should be good to go. So we have the audio, we have all the angle sync. So let's just do it. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna be playing this straight through. I might stop here and there, but essentially what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be watching all 6 of these camera angles at the same time, and I'm gonna be just cutting between them. And again, we might have to stop and backtrack and redo certain points, but essentially this is gonna be it. Let's just get started.
Thank you guys so much. All right, we've been here 5 minutes, and this is the best HELLFEST we've ever played, so give yourselves a hand. So buy our merch, and there's 2 little rooms over there, there's a bunch of animal rights pamphlets and different organizations there. Make sure you guys go check that out before you leave. There's nothing wrong with a little free education. There's something out to all those people that fucking do that every day without thinking about a cent to make whatsoever. They do it out of the kindness of their fucking heart to make this world this much of a better place. Yes, give it up to those guys. This song is going out to all the vegan and vegetarian kids here. And more importantly, it's to go out to everyone with an open mind who can consider a positive change in their life. This song is called The Grenade Mouth Tragedy. Good? Are you guys excited to be at HELLFEST 2K4? Give it up for all the bands that are playing. Our next song is going to go out to all the bands we've toured with since the last HELLFEST. The long list includes Calico System, from a Second Story Window, On Broken Wings, Shadow Realm, Zao, Scarlet, 12 Tribes. Yeah, somebody else too tired to remember. So. This song's also to go out to everyone who's overcome any kind of addiction and didn't listen to all their friends when they told them it wasn't cool to do certain things at certain times. This song's called Flooding Revolution in A minor. too, a little bit special. And make sure you guys show love and respect to all the bands that are playing. Hopefully all or most of them have something to say, and it's worth your time. Forever we never. Make this one pretty impressive for the DVD. If you want to see your fucking ugly mug on it, get the book up here and take it off. This song's about making your own ideas of beauty, not listening to society. Everyone's beautiful their own way. This song's going out to all the ugly people, because that's who I am, and that's what I care about. Get your fucking ass up here. This is Decisions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, so that's it for the first pass. What's gonna happen is probably tomorrow. Not right now because I'm fucking tired now, but the next step will be to watch it through again at least one, maybe two more times, just to make sure all of those cuts make sense. Because what I was doing was I was basically watching all 6 angles and trying to anticipate where to cut. So the second and third pass will just be to fine tune everything, make sure everything looks good. Again, making sure that I'm not cutting too quickly, making sure that every cut makes sense, things like that. Then I'm also going to spend a little bit more time just trying to clean up this audio a little bit. So again, the audio that we're going to be using is the camera, the audio from the camera that was at the front of the house on the tripod looking straight on. That seems to be the least blown out. So what I'll do is I'll probably end up doing some EQ and compression on that. And then after that, do a little bit of color correction on the angles just to sync it, just to match everything visually. And then it'll be ready to export. So probably gonna work on that tomorrow. Again, I'm kind of beat right now. That was doing that like manual sync is such a like tedious part of this multicam stuff, and especially when there's no audio and you have to do it visually. That's just it's so it requires so much focus that it like I can only be doing this for like 2 hours before I need to take a break. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to try doing more of these. I keep saying I'm going to keep doing more of them, but I don't have a schedule in place yet. Some days I do them around noon. Some days I do them at like 9 p.m. So there you go. It's basically when I have the time and when I feel like going on live, I'll do it. So anyway, other quick updates. If you're a Patreon subscriber, I have some This Is Hardcore stuff coming out this week. Hopefully some drum cam stuff. So we had a designated camera for drums, basically for a bunch of bands. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, there's a link below. You'll get access to some of that stuff. You'll get access pretty soon to slow motion stuff. So we had a slow motion camera running, got some really amazing slow motion footage. So that'll be on the Patreon. The sound engineers are working on the mixes. So within the next couple weeks, we'll start having the actual full sets from This Is Hardcore coming out. So yeah, a lot of good stuff coming up in the near future. So again, if you're a Patreon subscriber, thank you. Your support is allowing me to do this full time. And in exchange, you'll get early access to certain stuff. You'll have voting rights. There's a link below for voting. So basically every day you, the viewers, control what videos come out. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, you have that privilege to do so. But anyway, I'm going to dip out of here, but have a good night, and thanks again for tuning in.